Musicoin is a music streaming platform built upon the blockchain that wants to give the power back to the artists. To know more about the platform and to get the latest news about its development, I am with Isaac Mao, founder of Musicoin. Hi Isaac Mao.
Hi FrenchWeb.
So my first question, what are the flaws of the traditional music platforms like Spotify or Apple Music, and how Musicoin can avoid them?
Yeah, we are trying to build a platform globally serve both musicians and listeners, with their best benefits. For example, like for musicians, we want to pay the highest industry rate, much higher than the current, music services. For the listeners, we want to provide a free, listening experience. At the same time, they can interact with the musicians directly. And I think that's the biggest difference from those other existing music services.
And all of this is possible thanks to the blockchain.
Yeah, the blockchain made it possible because we built a global the kind of platform, and based on this ledger, system, and it including all kinds of music transactions, that today's industry has realized, but with a very high price, with many intermediaries, which costs very high, also very low efficiency. So we basically can pay musicians instantly within minutes, rather than taking 9 months or 12 months.
And what Musicoin represents today? How many users and artists do you have on the platform?
Yeah, we just started for 1.5 years, so we have very organic growth from day one when the blockchain started to genesis, and we already have 5,000 musicians, from different continents, and no boundary. They can easily come to log in and try to verify their identity as a musician, and they can release their works. So 5,000 musicians has released over 100,000 music tracks, fully copyrighted and can be fully executed with our payment system. So this is the current development. On the other side, we have the listeners groups, as early adopters of the system. They believe that the streaming services will be changed or revolutionized. So they come over and love to spend money to tip musicians, because listening to music is free. But those fans, they really love to give musicians more extra kind of remunerations. That's what we didn't expect at the first moment, but eventually we see is a very big economy from those listeners group. So that's why it's really necessary we expand the platform to more like scenarios.
You will do a big announcement during the MaMA festival. Can you talk a bit about it?
Yeah, the MaMA event is so important to us because it's the first opportunity that we actually we go offline to interact with music industry and musicians. But at the same time, we want people to understand Musicoin project is a platform, to serve not only musicians but also listeners. Because we see only 1% to 5% of internet users today, they subscribe to music services. What about the other 95% of internet users? What's their music services? So we will announce, and we will definitely showcase, the power of music streaming services mobile app. We will release this first version, and then we will announce our further roadmap of this platform, as well as the consumer side of like the future development path. So the consumers, they can easily download the app, in the next quarter, and then they can they don't need to pay any like a monthly subscription. They can easily listening to different genres of music, and also they can create their own playlists, tipping musicians, interact with musicians, also buy some other like peripheral type of stuffs. So this is really something different from the traditional music services, which is as acting as a wall, to block musicians and listeners, and basically hide a lot of details how the industry works. We want to make the whole system transparent. So in the announcement, you will see a very, very cutting-edge demo that the music listening directly trigger a payment, a macro payment to musicians, and musicians can receive the income instantly, almost like real time.
I will enlarge the subject a bit. At one point, there was a craze about cryptocurrencies, but now, with all the fluctuations and the warnings from some institutions, its normalization seems more far away. Whereas the use of cryptocurrencies by a large audience seems key for projects like yours. Are you still confident in the fact that this can happen, and how?
I think the blockchain has a lot of myth and overpromised things, in this industry. I mean, not music industry, but the blockchain industry. And that's why we try to put the final goal of this project as the first principle, which is to serve the usages of this project, of this technology. Also, we want to serve our clients, like musicians, and also the final customers, which is the listeners, all around the world. That's the key criteria we set for our project. We don't chase those like fast money in the market, going to ICO, etc. We definitely develop this technology for changing the industry, solving the problem of this industry. So we try to squeeze out those myth and type of short sight, kind of problems. But at the same time, we do believe that blockchain has a lot of advantages to really bring the efficiency, really bring those new thinking model, try to remove those problems in the industry, which is really, hurt the innovation and the creativity of the industry. That's why we still think that we should try to focus and really persist to realize the whole dream of this idea.
That brings me to my last question. Beyond projects like yours is also the idea that the blockchain can succeed and become what internet has not managed to be. That is to say, an open, transparent, and cooperative technology. Do you think that the blockchain is on the good path for that?
So far, I think we are only like 10% to realize the commitment of all the potential of blockchain. But it doesn't mean that blockchain is perfect. We need to really develop a lot of upper level of technology, ethical frameworks. Also try to include the community to evolve the technology, like internet itself, back to early days, nobody knows what's the potential. It depends on several rounds of self-correction, and eventually it can go to the right path. So I cannot say it's on the right path or not, but it's actually, I think it's in a very an interesting stage that we can see how those hypes will be squeezed out and how those useful part was left and eventually develop into a really useful kind of vertical technology.
Thank you, Isaac Mao.
Thank you.